Welcome back to The Point After. We are now joined by the voice, the face of your Carolina Panthers. I'm talking about Anish Shroff. And Anish, look, we're ready. We're ready for week one, baby. We're ready for this Carolina Panther team to really take that next step, that next level under Dave Canales. Now that the preseason has wrapped up, what is your assessment of what you've seen on the field and what could possibly come with this team this year?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I think we're all tired of preseason. There's not a lot of football to go off of for the previous however many months, 6, 7 months. So we get the preseason games. We all want to jump to conclusions, but there's a lot that goes on in the building, behind the scenes, at those joint practices. And I think overall, listen, the arrow's still pointing up. You look at the tail end of last season. To me, that's the springboard for 2025. Can this team, can Bryce Young capitalize off of what they did at the end of last year and build on that?
You mentioned Bryce Young. I got to piggyback on that. Can he build off of that? He's not got a new shiny weapon in Tetaroa McMillan. He's got Excel also having his progressions. As you look at the chemistry between the wide receiver room and this quarterback, who really is playing the biggest year of his career thus far, because this could tell a lot about what happens to his future. What have you seen in terms of progression, and what can people expect? Well,
I think, one, you just sense more confidence, and there's a swagger to the way he plays, and guys seem to feed off of that. Also, you got to remember, you know, his first year, things were all over the map in terms of alignment within the coaching staff. You had an offensive line that was banged up for most of the season. Year two, there were the struggles early after the benching and the hard reset. He came back a different quarterback, and it's almost like taking a 200 or 300 level class once you've taken the 101. You're not changing majors. And so he's able to now build on the concepts he learned last year. He's a better quarterback. The feedback loop is now a loop instead of just instruction to the quarterback. So I think you're going to see just the next level of Bryce Young, you know, version 1.0 last year, now it's 2.0. He's going to be able to stack these concepts.
Not to mention he's got a fortified run game, too, with the addition of Rico. Look, a lot of question marks do surround the defensive unit. That's been a big part of conversation. A historically bad defense last year, but a lot of improvements, especially in the offseason, not just with acquisitions, but also with health and returning guys like DB. So tell me about the D-line specifically and really how that trickles to the rest of the unit.
Well, you know, trickle's a great word because football's a lot like dominoes. What happened before impacts what happens next. And when you look at the game itself, the play, it starts in the trenches. What happens in the trenches impacts the levels that come after it, the backfield, the secondary. So the vision for Dan Morgan and this team was very clear. Invest in the trenches. They did it in the offensive line last year. They went and got Bobby Brown, 6'4", 340-pound space eater to put in the middle of that 3-4 defense. They went out and got Turk Wharton, who, including the playoffs for the Chiefs, had 6 sacks in his last 8 games. The biggest move, Derek Brown returning from injury, that is a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of player. Even if he's not 100% to start the season, 70% of Derek Brown is still an impact player. They're so much better up front, and there are guys who started a lot of games last year who are competing for roster spots this year on that defensive line. So again, you go from, as you said, historically bad to even average. That represents a significant jump.
You mentioned the domino effect. Well, it all starts in the trenches, but it trickles to that secondary. I want to talk specifically about the safety position, because that has been one position, and if I want to single someone out, I'm going to single out the young kid, Lathan Ransom, how he's had the camp that he's had, and now what that may turn into once week one starts.
Yeah, Lathan Ransom's been impressive. For those who don't know, this was a guy who won a national championship at Ohio State. He can kind of fly all over the field. They don't really have free safety, strong safety. You're sort of expected to do both in this defense. They want to find the best guy to complement Trayvon Merrick, who they got from the Raiders. Merrick is a chess piece. He's kind of the Queen's Gambit. You can move him all over, and he can do a lot of different things. He can blitz, he can play back, he can play at the line of scrimmage. So who complements him the best? They like what they see out of Lathan Ransom, but he is a rookie. Damani Richardson flashed last year as an undrafted rookie. Now he's in year 2. And then you've got a veteran in Nick Scott, and there could potentially be maybe another move once other teams have made their cuts.
It's going to be interesting to see because all eyes will be focused on that defense. Last but not least, we talked about Dan Morgan's vision of building from the trenches. And a lot of the times we focus on the progression of these players, but I want to talk about the progression of the leader, the progression of head coach Dave Canales. Now, he's also developing as a leader, as a head coach. What have you seen and what excites you more going into this year?
You know, more than anything, it's just his consistency. He's been the same guy since day one. I think we all thought it, right? When he first got here, the energy, the enthusiasm, and we're all wondering, okay, when is this going to go away? And then you spend time around him. That's Dave Canales. Every day. I've interviewed him 3 times this week, and it's the same guy. It's the burst of energy when he walks into the room. So I think that's probably the biggest thing he has going for him is he brings that level of consistency. He brings the energy, he brings the enthusiasm. And you know, you and I both live in this city. We can feel it. The way last year ended, people in this town are ready to jump back onto the bandwagon, to get behind the Carolina Panthers. And I'm hoping for the best week 1. I think if you can go to Jacksonville, start the season 1-0. We've had some slow starts the last few years. If you can get off to a good start this year, I think this town is ready to erupt.
Listen, this is a football city for sure, and everybody wants the Carolina Panthers to be a winner. Joining us here on The Point After, the face, the voice of your Carolina Panthers, Anish Shroff. Thank you, my friend, for being here. And again, week 1, Jacksonville Jaguars. It all starts there.